Hey guys, before we start, a quick shout out to Alpha Dog Nutrition for sponsoring this podcast. Alpha Dog products are now available at dusupply.com, and you can use code ALPHADOG15 at checkout for 15% off and a credit for free shipping to try it yourself. Now let's get you to your podcast.
Welcome to my podcast, where we are going to talk about a lifestyle with dogs and throw in a few life lessons along the way. Whether you're a hound hunter, bird dog enthusiast, running setters, pointers, retrievers, or a flat-out running dog junkie, this podcast is for you. I am your host, Heath Hyatt, a certified law enforcement canine trainer with over 3 decades of personal and professional training and handling experience. It's time for me to pay it forward. So grab your leads, lace up those boots, and come and join me on this lifelong process of teaching, training, and learning. Are you looking to unlock your dog's full potential and give them the best nutrition possible for peak performance? Then look no further. Inukshuk has what you're looking for. Inukshuk's nutrient-dense formulas are crafted to keep your dog's energy high and performance top-notch. Packed with premium proteins and essential fats, Inukshuk delivers the balanced nutrition your dog needs to thrive. From hunting dogs to police canines, Inukshuk is trusted by professionals. Give your dog the power of peak performance with Inukshuk Professional Dog Food. Good morning or evening or whenever you're tuning in, but it's morning time here in the southern Appalachian Mountains here at the house. I'm looking out the window and it's kind of nasty today to rest a little bit, give the dogs a break. It is raining. I can't tell if the sleet's mixed in with it yet or not. The wind's blowing a little bit. I can't even see the top of the ridge for the fog. It's nasty out. So it's a good day just to rest. But we're 2 weeks in to our bear season. And man, oh man, I have got so many thoughts going on. I got a lot to talk about. And sometimes you just don't know what to say. It's been tough. I've got a lot on my mind, I'll tell you that. And I'll get to a little bit of it. Some of it, when it's kind of going to be a rant, I'll just put it that way. And we've got a lot of data coming in, so I'm going to save that part of my rant for another podcast. We just got the data this past week, and we're trying to sort through a lot of it. I think it's 10 years worth of data, but when we get that all separated and can start putting numbers with certain things, I'm going to do another podcast about that. And I hope you guys tune in and listen. I know that Virginia affects me because this is where I'm at. This is where I live, and this is where I do the majority of my hunting. And it's near and dear to me. Like, it's very important to me what happens in the state of Virginia. It also is important to me what happens in West Virginia and North Carolina and Tennessee, because all these areas surround me, and they're also areas that I hunt. So even though I'm not living there, I want to see hound hunting, especially the bear population, thrive. And there's a lot going on within the state that I really can't talk about right this second. So again, when we get the data and I get the numbers and we get to sort through them, then I'll be doing a podcast about that. But until then, here's my rant. Whew. If you guys pay any attention or y'all follow me on social media, you know that I have not been posting a lot of stuff. And I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. I'm really torn right now with social media. And I'll tell you why. I feel like with some of the posts that I see, it's more about the fame and the bragging. And I know that's not for everybody, but I have personal knowledge of some things that really, really, really are disappointing. That's the way I'll put it. It's disappointing. And I'll go into a little detail about some of it. But I have kind of steered away from it. And I know you guys want to know what's going on and what I'm doing and what the dogs are doing. Well, I hope you do anyway. That's why you listen to the podcast. And I've been more telling about it than I have been showing it. And again, it goes back to, there's a couple things, which I will not go into detail about. But, social media is a great tool. For me, when I first got on social media, it was about, reconnecting with friends and classmates and keeping up with my hunting buddies that are not right here where I'm at and kind of seeing what they're doing. And I feel like that at the same time, it has become, I don't know the exact words to use, but it has become more of a show and tell. And I'm not geared that way. I'm just not. I've always been a little bit more private in my personal life. And I'm not saying but I mean, I do my thing, I keep quiet about it, and I move on. And you can ask the guys that hunt with me. We've kind of went through the phase. We've posted stuff, and then we kind of got away from it, and then we've kind of been intermediate. And we talk about it. We talk about it as a group. And, you don't, for me, having a podcast, it's important that you guys get an in-depth look at what Heath Hyatt is about and what he does. But at the same time, I don't want to send the wrong message to people. So I've really been struggling with social media. I've struggled with it. And that's going to bring me to why I'm talking about it. So 2 weeks in, and I am seeing a lot of pictures of sows being taken, smaller bear being taken. And in the state of Virginia, if it's 100 pounds and it's don't have cubs with it, it is legal. It's legal. So there's nothing you can say about it. It is what it is. But as a hound hunter, when we go to these meetings and we start trying to justify why we do what we do and what's going on, one of the things that I hear it all the time, and I even preach it all the time, is that hound hunters have the capability. We are the ultimate hunters that can use selectability more than anybody else. And what I mean from that is that when we have a bear treed, we can go in, we can analyze it, we can look at it, we can make decisions. We're not in a rush most of the time. There's always a caveat in there. I get it. On the ground changes things up. I get it. But we're able to go in and sit down and really, 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 really look at the game that we're pursuing. And if that's what we're preaching, and that's one of the things that we live by in these meetings and when we talk to other people, that this is hound hunters have this ability, but I don't see us taking advantage of that. And I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. And like I said, there's always an anomaly in there. You know, we can go down the long list. You have a first time hunter, you have a kid, you know, you have this or you have that. There's always those what ifs. Okay. So let's exclude those. Let's just talk about making good, sound decisions and being responsible hunters. You know, our group, I'm going to tell you the standards that we're trying to live by. And this is just our group. This is just the 6 or 8 guys that hunt with us. And we've agreed to this. Like, everybody's talked about it, and we're like, okay. You know, you've heard me say it before. We try very, very hard not to take a sow. Okay? Now, it does happen. I mean, we all know how hunting is. Sometimes stuff goes sideways, but we try very hard not to. And we, as a group, have pretty much said that unless it's 200 or above, we're not messing with it. We just don't. And you say, okay, well, why? Why are you doing that? Well, there's a couple of reasons why. Is we like to take the mature the boars. That's one thing. Like we like to take and harvest the bigger boars. You know, we would love to kill 300 and 400 pounders all the time. And if I'm taking those 100 and 110 and 125s and 150s, they're never going to make it to 300, 400, right? So that's just common sense. It's what we do. And the sows, again, when I get the data, I'm going to lay it out here for you to make your own decisions. But if you take a sow that's between 0 and 3, she's never had a chance to produce. 3 to 5 is when they start to produce. And then when you get, I would have to talk to some biologists so don't quote me on the age, but once you get to that 12, 15 year period in a sow, they're not productive, and that's okay. Like, we understand that. Got it, right? But if you're taking sows, you're taking the animal that's producing the animals that you want to run, right? And yes, we know we have to manage the game. I completely understand that. I completely understand it. And like I said, taking 1 or 2 a year is not a horrible thing. But at the rate that they are being taken in the state of Virginia, in a couple of years, and I've said this, we're going to see a drastic change in our population. And again, we're looking at 2 different management areas. You're looking at private property where all the bear have migrated because they're not getting pressure from hounds. The food sources are usually better in the lower around the farms and stuff. I'm talking about national forest, okay? So let's just make sure that everybody's clear on that. So I had a conversation yesterday. Taylor and Ariel come down and hunted with me for a couple of days. I love and I enjoy having those guys around because we're like-minded. We can sit down and have a conversation about things and put different twists and perspectives in it. And you'd be like, oh, okay, I can roll with that. Or you can say, I'm not sure that I agree with that, and go on. But Taylor and I were walking off the mountain yesterday, and we were talking about, you remember our why we do what we do? And Taylor had made the comment, Taylor, I hope you don't mind me talking about this because I thought it was very interesting, and it got me thinking. It got me trying to figure out why I did some things. So Taylor said he first got dogs so he could kill a bear, right? And then he said after he got more involved in it, it wasn't about taking a bear anymore. It was about the dogs. It was about the enjoyment of being in the outdoors, outside, with your hounds as one, and being just doing what they love to do. So we had that conversation coming off the mountain. And last night I come home and I got to thinking about my why. Like, why did you get hounds? Well, if you've listened to this podcast, you kind of know my story. In my, late teens, early 20, we had a huge hunting lease, and one of my buddies shot a bear. We couldn't find it. I called my girlfriend's roommate at the time who had a pack of hounds. He brought them over the next day. We went to track the animal, couldn't find it. But just the excitement of being around it and the hounds, seeing what they did. And, you know, I was always an avid outdoorsman. Like, I lived on a creek. I was raised, literally my yard tied up to the creek. And we spent all of our time in the summer fishing, and in the fall, I spent all my time in the woods. Like, squirrel season, then bow season, and then, you know, muzzleloading season and deer season, and then late season, and then spring turkey. Like, that's how I spent my time. So adding a hound to it, which we always had dogs, it was just something that really excited me. So I got my first hounds. And if you're like all of us, you know, your first couple years, you're just trying to figure the dogs out. Like, what am I supposed to do here? What are they doing? Like, what's going on? You know, it takes time. It's just like anything you start. Like, you don't start out as a professional. You start out at the bottom and you work your way up and you learn things and so on and so forth. So I got to going back through my story and like, okay, what was it? And I really enjoyed being outdoors, and I really enjoyed being outdoors with the dogs. And even into my work career with dogs, the story that they tell, that, you know, that dog trailing across the landscape and telling that story was what really, really hooked me. That's what got me. And I cannot say that it's ever been about harvesting a bear. I can't say that. I remember back in the Frosty was still alive, and he died in 2004. So let's say 99 to 2000, 2001 and 2. Let's just say those years. I was hunting by myself. It was extremely hard. You've heard me talk about it. You've heard me say that, man, back then you caught 5 or 6 bear, and man, you had some really good dogs. And I had one of my mentors tell me, like, I had treed a couple bear that year, and I took one. We took one. That's it. And he kind of like, well, your dogs are doing the work. Why are you not doing this? And I really didn't have an answer. I didn't have an answer. So when I was sitting here last night thinking more about my why, it's always been about the dogs for me. It's always been about the dogs. It's always been about the relationship. It's always been about the work that they do, the training, and seeing them go from point A to point B. And it's never really been about the game that I've pursued. Now, do I love it? I do. I think a bear is one of the most majestic animals. I love to sit and watch them. I think they are a beautiful creature. There's all those things go with it. But after I got sorted out and got started in the right direction, like I said, it takes you a couple years to kind of get through that. For me, it's always been about the dogs. So I go back to the selectability. If we're going to preach this and we're going to tell people, well, we have the ability to select harvest. No other hunter has this ability. They do, but not to the degree that we do. Then why are we not living up to that? Why are we not practicing what we preach? So that's kind of my rant. I've still got a lot of thoughts going through my head. Like I said, if you're harvesting sows at an alarming rate, and I guess everybody can put that into different category, what that means to them. But if you're harvesting sows at a very high rate, the bear population in the area that you are taking those sows are definitely going to change. It's going to change. And it may take you a couple of years to see it. And I will tell you from the numbers that you guys know I keep pretty good records. And I will say since early season started, what are we, 5-6 years, whatever it's been now, I can see a decline in what I'm seeing. Either that or my dogs are just not any good. Like they're changing. Like I've either had good dogs and I'm getting worse, or the population is changing. I've heard this from several people this year. Several people. Hunting's been tough. And when you start trying to think about that, you start breaking it down and, is it because the food source? Yeah, that is one of our issues. Some of the areas that we hunt, the food source is not there. So the bears either laid up or they've changed areas. They will do that. We know that several bear have left one mountain range that we hunt and went to another, and the other mountain range we cannot hunt because it's all private. So we know that that's one of the issues. The cold spell that took place the first week, I feel like that was another issue. And I feel like the decline that we're seeing has to do with the population numbers. So I don't know. Like I said, this time last year, we were double. We were double where we're at now. And again, food source, bears changing locations, bears laying up, and population. So we've got to kind of put that together and see where we're at. And I hear a lot of people saying the same thing. So I don't know what the food source in everybody else's area. I've talked to a couple people. I do know the guys in Northern Virginia are suffering. I know the guys up around in Harrisonburg area, they're struggling to find bear. We know that mange has had a big part of that. So anyway, like I said, I just want to put that out there, man. Like, I feel like as hunters, you got to ask yourself, why am I here to, did I get dogs just to take bear? Did I get dogs because of the dogs? Did I get dogs for another reason? And kind of think about your why and what you're doing. And like for me, I want to preserve hound hunting. I want to take my next litter of pups and be able to catch as many bears I'm catching 2 years ago. And if we as hunters don't do some management ourselves, if we don't do some management ourselves, then we're not going to have what we have now. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah, season's been tough. It has been. Holy tamale. I got 5 females, and I'm a male dog guy. Like, I prefer males. I know some other people like females, some like males. I am a male dog guy. I like my males. And as my pack has dwindled during these first 2 weeks, I had one of my little females, Lady, my young females that's coming on strong, come in heat on the second day, so I didn't get to hunt her after that. I'm not going to get to hunt her till Christmas. And then Heart, one of my other females, she come in heat. So I got 2 females in heat. Little old Sass, man, she run herself to death last Saturday. And I'm telling you, she wore the pads right underneath her toenails. Every one of her toes, she run them raw. No, not on the bottom, but right underneath her toenails. She was digging in, like she was cranking. So I've been doctoring that, trying to get her back. And Kate, my old female, like same thing. Man, we've been in the rocks more than normal. We've had, I will tell you, the first 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the first week, the first season, my dog put out almost 60 miles in. 60 miles. And, you heard George Lambert and I talk about, if the food's not there, the bears tend to run a little different, run a little harder, not tree as easy. That's again through experience. This is kind of what we're seeing. So I don't know. Kate got her leg twisted up in the rocks or something and been doctoring on that. I've hunted her a day and just not able to go every day because of that. And then Attica, my other good female, same thing, got in the rocks and not her pads, but where her pads meet the hairline up on the back of her leg, on the inside of her front legs, like big gashes and raw spots. Been doctoring on them. So it's been tough. Like I've been down, like I said, I've literally got 8 dogs, not counting the bee litter. We'll get into that in just a second. I've got 8 dogs that I can hunt. And like, I'm down to 2. Like I took 2 Friday. I took Houdini and Spook and 2 of the bee litters, Briggs and Bishop. And then yesterday I took them 2 and the 3 of the bee litters. So like, I'm like, man, you got 8 dogs, 12 total with the pups, but I don't count them because they're not pulling their weight yet. So yeah, I got 8 dogs and I've been hunting basically 2 or 3 here and there because of the females and the feet and everything else. So, and I don't have a problem with feet. Like, don't get that wrong when I talk about that. Like I never, like when I first start hunting in August and they run hard, I'm gonna have to lay them up a day or 2 and try to work it out. But usually once they get in running shape, like I don't have issues at all. And like I said, that first day, man, it kicked our butts, like kicked it 60 miles in 3 days. And so Thursday, the dogs logged about 18 miles compared to my 9. They doubled what I did. Friday wasn't at near as bad. I think they logged in about 8 compared to my 4 or 5, whatever I did. And so, yeah, but it's been tough, man. Putting on a lot of miles, doing a lot of walking, kicking brush and just trying to hunt hard and get the young dogs going in the right direction, which brings us to the bee litter. So the bee litter, I got Briggs and Bishop and Bronx and Bridger. Welcome to the chaos. And I'll just be honest, we talk about training and we talk about hunting young dogs. I have made a huge mistake with these dogs, and that's keeping 4 of them. Like, you guys know I do a little traveling to hunt. I pretty much take off December to hunt. Now, the weather has played into that. I've missed 3 days in 2 weeks. We had 40-mile-an-hour winds one day. We had winds and rain another day and pouring rain another day. So those 3 days that I did not hunt. But trying to hunt 4 young dogs is impossible. And I have done them a disservice because I've not been able to hunt them consistently. I've been busting them up. I'll take 1 or take 2. I have taken 3. I've not taken all 4. I've got 2 lined out pretty good. And all 4 of them will make races. Like, you put them in, they're gone. But it's taken me August, September, October hunting, November, a couple days in November in North Carolina, and now we're into December. So it's taken me almost 4 months to get to this point. And in my mind, in my expectations, we should have already been there. Like, we should have been there 2 months ago, back in the end of September, which 2 of them were making races. I should have had them all there, but hunting the 4 of them has been a disaster. Not a disaster. It's been taxing, and I can see that I'm not doing them justice. It's not their fault. It's my fault for taking that huge responsibility on, and I will not do that again. I'll break it down to 2. I can handle 2, but 4 is just too much with the amount of time that we have to hunt here. Now, if I could hunt year round, I mean, if I was in North Carolina or West Virginia, then, it would be a little different. So it's on me. Like I said, it's on me trying to take on too much, and it's hard. They've got a lot of natural ability. I really like their actions. I like what I see, and I've had to talk myself kind of off the ledge a couple times because they're not meeting my expectations. But at the same time, I have to look in the mirror and say, well, they're not meeting the expectations. Why? Well, because I've only hunted this one 6 times and I've hunted that one 10 times. Oh, but I've taken that one 15, you know what I'm saying? So where I've busted them up and tried to single them out and make sure that I've got one started in a good direction before I add another one to the chaos, is on me. So I really had to look at myself and take the blame myself because it's me. It's on me. I don't recommend it. It's too hard. It's not fair to the dogs when you've got dogs of that quality, with that type of abilities. It's hard. It's hard to say that. And then I was actually walking out the mountain the other day, had a long day, a long walk. We hunted hard, and I had a couple of them with me. And, I'm sitting here thinking, all right, so if they got the natural ability, if it's in their DNA, their genetics are put together right, then they should just be doing it, right? They should be doing it. And I got to looking back through my training regimen, like what have I done? What have I not done? And I told myself, I'm like, you got to be patient here because you haven't given them the opportunity. And what I'll tell you, and when I'm talking about opportunity, so one of the things that's been very frustrating to me is I'm leaving them out. Like I'm letting them do their own thing. And they have yet, none of the 4, well, Bridger maybe, but none of the 4 have just picked up a track and took off with it. And I expect that. I expect a year-old dog to pick up a track and take off with it. Now, whether it's a deer, a coyote, a coon, a bear, a fox, bobcat, I don't care what it is, but that's what I'm like, that's what they should be doing. They should want to be going out there and pushing something, and they haven't. So I go back to training season, and if you listen to the podcast that I talked about when Jerry come in September, and I had taken the dogs out and we'd done a little trash breaking. So I'm like, okay, so did I set them back? Was this on me? And I never have let these pups run off game. Okay. From the very get-go, I took them out while I was roading them, while I was hunting them, but most opportunities that I had to put them on deer, I put them on deer, and I stopped them, right? So while I was taking that walk Thursday, I was like, okay, so was this on me? Like, is this why they're not doing this? Is because I've been very consistent, not harsh, but consistent on not letting them run deer, that now they're like, yeah, I'm not going to take the chance on going out and doing something and dad getting on me. And if you hunted long enough, your dog, if you've got a super, super good dog, he's going to run junk at some point in time. I'll tell you a funny one. So Friday, I had Spook and Houdini and Axe. Axe is the A litter, so they're 2 little. Well, they'll be pushing 3 now. And then I had Briggs and Bishop. So I head down this ridge and out the mountain, and Axe drops off about 328 yards from me. He was below me. Now the wind was blowing. I mean, it was kicking. It wasn't like blowing you down, but the wind was blowing enough. And I heard him get in there and open. Okay. So he opened and he's just pecking along. I'm like, okay. I'm going to give him opportunity. Like, I usually pack him more than I do anything else, but I'm going to give him an opportunity. So the other dogs, every time they would hear him, the wind would blow, and it's like, not enough there. I'm not going to go to him, but he was just trailing. So it wasn't like he was, but he started trailing. He trailed off the mountain, crossed the valley, and started to pull the other side of the mountain. And I can hear him off and on. And I mean, he's just trailing. He makes a couple of loops in there, goes over across that mountain, comes back, makes a big U shape, makes another loop in there, and then he crosses back over the mountain and he's gone. So Wes and him's keeping up with him. He goes off the mountain, and we typically know how the bear run, right? You guys know how they run. So not at this point, nah, it ain't right. It ain't right. So anyway, I make a few phone calls off the mountain, and the dog makes a big loop in there and comes back and loops. And now this is like he struck this at, a little after 7. I don't know, 10 after, 15 after, 10 after 7. And he's gone. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, do I just want to go hunting? Do whatever? And Wesley's like, oh, we'll keep up with him. Don't worry about it. So I go on and go hunting. And I get a phone call back. I told this person where the dog was at. And they go try to catch him. And calls me back and he goes, hey. He goes, he ain't right. And I'm like, yeah, I knew that. So you deer doggers, I don't know what it's worth to you guys, but now he wasn't running a deer. He's running a herd of them. So that's got to be worth more money, right? Like, it's got to be. So anyway, he come across a field and they tried to cut him off and he got past them. And dude, he run in there for, golly geez. He actually ended up back at the truck. He come back out of off the north of the mountain, come back across the valley and come back to where I'd parked. And I'd went on to treat a bear and come back out. And he literally come back to the truck right at 12 o'clock. Like, so he was gone for 5 hours and come back. So for me, do I want that to happen? Absolutely not. He's not 3 yet. I expect my dogs to make a few mistakes. Don't know what got into him for that. Like, he's been pretty good about not running that, but hey, he did. And it is what it is. So deer is easy. I would rather it be a deer than a coyote. Coyotes are so hard to break off of because of their elusiveness. You don't see them they can run a deer right out in front of you. Coyotes are hard. So no problem. I'll fix it. I'll take care of it. Now, since he run, just let's talk about training a little bit. Since he run like that, it's probably going to take me a little bit longer. It's going to take me a couple sessions to deter him from doing that again. And I understand that's a part of the process. I'm not just going to do it in one time. So I'll do a couple sessions. I actually took him with me yesterday, just in case, or hoping to see a deer, so I could start working him. He could have went yesterday. He was a little bit sore, but he could have went. But I didn't even turn him loose because of that. So anyway, you deer doggers, I don't know what it's worth for a man that got a dog that runs a herd of deer, but to me, it seems like it's better when you multiply them, better than one, right? So anyway, I go back to the bee litter. I feel like I have hindered their development a little bit because I was trying to stop that, and they're so gamey. In my mind, they were going to be a problem. So I just went ahead and started working on it. Now, did I overdo it? No, absolutely not. And I'm pretty sure I have to go back through my notes and look, but I know that I got at least Briggs and Bronx and Bridger. Yeah, I got them all 3. Now, Bishop, no. But I got all 3 of them on a bear or 2 before I did start working on the deer. But anyway, my expectations and where they're at is not coinciding. I I want them to get out and start taking. I want them to take a track. I want them to do this, and I want them to do that. But while I was taking that trip, that walk, like I said, I was kind of reflecting on what the last couple months have been like. What have I contributed? What have they contributed? And, on the way home yesterday, I come to the conclusion that, like, the biggest part of this is on me for trying to hunt 4 of them. That was a no-no. That was an absolute no-no. So, yeah, we'll wrap that one up. Hunting too many pups, I do not recommend it unless you just have every day to hunt and you can bust them up and take 1 or 2 every day. Like I said, Bishop has taken the brunt of that. I've not hunted her as much. In fact, I didn't even try to start her until December, right now. And I'll tell you about her progression. Like, she didn't even get to go, the first day. Yeah, I took her the first day. Yeah, I think I've taken Bishop every day, and I've switched to males back and forth. So she's had a couple opportunities to go. For whatever reason, we notice that, now she's a camp bred dog. Okay. She did not come from Mike. She was one that I bred. So they have a little bit of that shyness in them. Everybody that's got camp dogs know what I'm talking about. So if there's a crowd of dogs and there's a crowd of people, she's a little bit elusive. I'm not so sure about this. And we really seen that yesterday. But so the first day, I let her out and we went into a tree. The bear had ran the exact same way that we had to go in, so I was hoping that she'd take the track and go on. Well, she ended up back at the truck. She didn't go. And that was her first day out, first day period. Second day, I did not let her go. Third day, she was not. I didn't have her with me that day, so I guess I did not take her. So anyway, the first week was kind of a wash. Okay. This week, Saturday. Friday, I just had her and Briggs, Spook, and Houdini. Axe was off doing his own thing. And I actually struck a bear relatively close, and when Briggs took off, she went right with him. Like, she was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" So they got in there and she made the whole race and was at the tree. The bear wasn't sitting good, but it was so thick in there. You couldn't even, she couldn't see up it if she wanted to. So anyway, when I tied Spook up, the bear come and bailed out and made a loop. She went with them and got to the second tree, and Taylor was able to get down there and get the dogs caught before it come out again. And so I was like, okay, she made a race. We're, heading in the right direction. And guys, I mean, again, this dog's a little over a year old. Like, most people expect that to happen 8, 10, 12 months old, whatever. Because of the situation, I'm being a little bit more forgiving and a little bit more patient because she's not had the opportunity. So yesterday, brought a bear off the mountain. I turned her, Briggs, and Bronx loose. So it come off and we turned it, and I put those 3 in, and she fiddled around the truck for a second. Hot Rod was there with his dogs and stuff, so she wasn't really sure. So I just pulled off, and she was in the road actually when I pulled off. And the next thing I know, I see her shoot up to where where the other dogs took off. And I mean, it just wasn't but a second. She was caught up, and they caught the bear and walked it for a little bit and then treed it. It was about a mile. It was a mile into the tree when they treed it. We got in there and got the dogs tied up, and I tied her above the tree. The bear was sitting in a fork, plain as day, and she was treeing. So it's taken me 2 weeks to get to this point, but she's made the last 2 races. She's starting to tree a little bit. And if you guys, like I said, if you guys know the Kemp dogs, most of them are a little slow coming treat anyway. But I mean, she was barking, looking up, barking, and so making progress. Not where I want to be, a little bit behind from where I'd like to be at this point, but we're making progress. We're getting there, and because of my inability to hunt 4 dogs, I'm going to have to give them more time because of the way I'm having to hunt. So just something to think about when you take on more than you can handle, which what I did. And I didn't want to get rid of any of these. Like I didn't want to get rid of them. Like they were out of my Kate female. Now Carl, my buddy up in West Virginia, has got one, and man, she's smoking, like catching bear by herself. Doing a super, super good job. He is very pleased with her. He loves the fact that you can run her every day and she don't break down. If you guys are only can hunt, a week at a time, you guys that can only hunt a week or, a week and a half, 2 weeks, and you can't hunt every day or hunt the whole season like some of us. That's very important. And that's what he was talking about. He was like, we take off a week or 2. And I've got some dogs that I can hunt 3 days, and then I got to lay them up for 3 days. He said, I can just hunt her. She don't break down. So that's very pleasing to hear, and I'm hoping that mine end up the same way. Like I said, I've been hunting her. I guess there was a day or 2 I didn't take her last week for whatever reason, but she's oh no, I did have her that day. They got hung up on that cliff. That's right. So I did have her last week, and she got hung up on the cliff, and Richard called her and took her out for me. So anyway, that's what happened there. So that's I thought I hunted her every day, but yeah. So anyway, guys, just stuff to think about. Like I said, a lot of stuff going on in my head up here, and just trying to think about it and process it, understand why we do what we do, and why not to hunt 4 pups at a time. Hope you guys have a good rest of the season, and we'll see you at the tree. Do you like to be outdoors like I do? If so, unlock the wilderness with onX Maps. It is your ultimate guide to exploring, hunting, and conquering the great outdoors. With detailed maps, real-time tracking, and exclusive access to public and private lands, onX Maps is your key to adventure. Discover the possibilities and never get lost again with onX. So subscribe today using the promo code K920. Letter K, number 9, 20, and know where you stand.